Hello everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Barbecue on a Random Thought Project. Today we're going to be cooking boneless pork shoulder butt, also known as pork butt, pork shoulder. So this I picked up from Costco. It's a double pack of boneless pork butt, and it's been thawing out my refrigerator for a few days. And you can see it is 12 pounds roughly. So we're going to start the process off here. And I'm going to open the package up, wash off the meat, and pat it dry. And that'll be the first step of the process. So I just have kitchen grade shears. I'm going to open this up. It's going to be a lot of blood coming out. As always, keep your hands with some nice food prep gloves, nice and clean. I'm going to take these out one at a time, place them in my sink, and pat them dry. Now I've gone ahead of time and pulled some paper towels off the roll so they're all ready to go. And I'm going to try and get a good amount of this moisture off it. Now I'm going to let these sit. I'm going to prepare my rub and let these come up to a little bit of room temperature. And I'll work on my rub and getting my smoker up to temperature. Now for the fun part, we have to make some rub. So I'm not going to tell you the exact amounts of all the items I put in the rub, but I'll tell you where to get the recipe. So this is Jeff's Naked Rib Rub recipe from SmokyMeat.com. This is an awesome website, and they have a great forum, so to help him out, I'm not going to give the actual recipe out, but I'll show you what's in it. You can see all the ingredients right here. So we have a bunch of brown sugar, we have kosher salt, we have onion powder, garlic powder, we have chili powder, we have red cayenne pepper, and garlic powder, if I didn't mention already. I think I did. So that's what's in it. So all I'm going to do is, what I did ahead of time was I took the brown sugar and I actually pressed my fork down into it and got all the lumps that I could out. And now I'm going to just mix this all together and get it nice and consistent. And then I'll get any lumps out that I see and I'll put it in my shaker. So this is a double batch of rub. So this way I can have enough for 2 pork butts and maybe have some left over for another cook. So I'm going to mix this all up, and then the next step will be getting the smoker heated up. So now another fun part, after I get the smoker fired up, and that's warming up right now, and getting charcoal lit. So in the meantime, we've had these pork butts resting, and I just got done showing you how to make the rub. So what I'm going to do is I transferred the rub to this stainless steel shaker, and this is one I got off Amazon, and it has couple different size holes you can see here. I like to use the large holes that allow a lot of it to come out at a time. And I'm going to use a slather to help the rub stick to the meat. So I like to use yellow mustard. Now the yellow mustard flavor cooks off as you're smoking, so it doesn't taste like mustard at all. It's just something that allows the rub that you're sprinkling on to stick to the meat. So I'm going to give that a good slather, get it all up in there, and then we will shake on the rub. And with this rub, you can put a lot on. It will not be overbearing. It is a mild rub. There's not a ton of chili. There's not a ton of heat. There's a little bit of sweet from the brown sugar, but there's a lot of paprika, and there's a little bit of salt, and there's a good amount of pepper. So don't be shy. Get it all up in there. You're going to want to get the ends really good. I like to put it on the inside of where they pulled the bone out and they deboned it. Now I will do the other side. A little trick I started using is I have my GoPro remote so I can start and stop the camera. You can see I'm not worried about putting too much on. So I like to hold the shaker about 6 inches above the meat. Now, one thing you'll notice with pork butt, there's a large fat cap on this. With brisket, we like to trim that fat cap down to only make it 1/4 inch. With pork butt, this will all render down, so we do not need to trim any of the fat off of a pork butt cut of meat. Alright, so I'm going to let this sit, and we're going to let the smoker come up to temp, and then we'll get it cooking. Alright everybody, so we are at the smoker now, and it's hard to see here, it's actually raining out. The temperature is close to 200 and rising. I heated it up and then put the pork in, and the temperature dropped a little bit after the pork was in there. So I'm going to try and do my best to show you my setup here. It is dark out, so I have 2 racks on my Big Green Egg. I have the original rack, great height, and the top one. And I have a probe in the top one right there. It's kind of hard to see. So I have a probe here in the meat, and then I have a probe on the grill grate to tell me the temperature of the smoker. So I'm going to close that back down. And what this is going to allow me to do is keep an eye on my Maverick here. And this Maverick remote thermometer will tell me the temperature of the grill, and it will tell me the temperature of the inside of the meat. And so I came back inside here. Hopefully it's a little easier to see here. Alright, so on the top here, I can set a temperature that will alert me when it reaches that setting. So the temperature on my meat probe is 170 degrees, and the temperature on my grill grate is a max of 275 and a minimum of 200. So if it goes below this range or above that range, this Maverick remote thermometer is going to beep and alert me. Now the reason that I select 170 for the meat is because I find that that's typically around the temperature that the stall finishes. So the meat stalls, usually drops in temperature and then goes back up again, and then the stall is over. And at that time, I like to wrap the meat in foil. So that's why I chose 170 degrees. So we'll keep an eye on the cooker, and we will check back in later. So here we are. It is 8:07 a.m. in the morning. I've been cooking this in the oven after smoking it at 230 degrees, and you can see the internal temp is 187 degrees. So it's been 13 hours roughly since I started cooking or prepping, and we just gotta let it keep cooking. Check in later. Alright everybody, it is 10:53 a.m. This thing's been cooking for quite a while, overnight and all morning.
Hello!
There's my daughter saying hi to everybody. Alright, listen, hot oven, really hot oven, okay? Now here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna come over here. Right?
Mommy, that...
Put it right in there.
Okay.
Push it in. Okay. Let's see what temperature it says. Let me turn it. It says 197 degrees. Now let me check this side for you.
Okay.
It is 199. I'm just gonna probe it over this side here. 203. So this, I normally find that around 203 degrees is when it starts sliding in and out like butter. So what I like to do is I probe all around the meat. And here, you see, it's 201, but it feels a little bit of resistance there. I'm gonna try this side. Same thing with this side. It's a little bit of resistance. So I'm gonna let this cook a little bit longer. You can see all the juice that's in there. See that? That's cooking out. When that rests, it's gonna get sucked, a little bit of that juice is gonna get sucked back in. So we're gonna put this back in, let it cook for another hour or two, or probably like an hour, and then come back and check it. All right, checking back in. It is 12:16 p.m. the following day. The internal temp is 205 degrees Fahrenheit in the thickest part. So I hold this, and it looks and smells amazing. And that probe is just coming in and out like butter. So you can tell that that is good to go. So now at this point, it's all about letting it rest for at least an hour. And you can let this rest for 2-3 hours covered. It will maintain its temperature and actually increase in temperature a little bit. And that's going to let the juices suck back into the meat from all the stress we put on the meat while this was cooking this whole time. So I'm going to lightly tent this and let this rest for an hour, and we'll come back and pull it. Alright everybody, this meat is rested for about an hour and a half. So now we're going to pull it, and you can see all the juice that came out over here. This is about an inch of liquid in the pan from having the foil on it. And it was a little higher, so it goes to show you how much, by letting the meat rest, how much moisture gets pulled back into the meat when it relaxes after it's been cooking for so long. So now I'm going to pull it so you can see how easily this comes apart here. You see that? So we want to pull it, but we don't want to shred it too much because we like bigger chunks of meat. You can shred it if you want. It just becomes more fine. I like it to have a little more texture to it. So all that fat that we saw earlier, see how that rendered down? Do you see that? Just falls apart. So that slow cooking did its job, and you can see that right there. See that? So I usually just twist it in there like that, break it up. I find tongs to be the best tool. And some of this part, this was the middle of it, so this was tougher when I first checked it when it was 203 degrees. So that's why I let it cook for another hour. So I want to keep working on this. I'm pulling this, there's that bark. I'm just going to mix that in with it. And now I'll probably work on a vinegar sauce to put on it. So what I like to do is take this and pull it, and then I don't put all this juice in it because it's really smoky. So I'll take a little bit of this juice and pour it on top to keep that smoke flavor, but I'll make a vinegar sauce that's called a finishing sauce I'll use to put on top of it. So I'll show you that in a little bit. Alright, what you've all been waiting for, here's the last part of this cook. We're making the finishing sauce. So shout out to South Florida Cure, so Sofla Cure from Smoky Meat Forums. Here's the recipe. I'm doubling this recipe. So we have the 2 cups of apple cider vinegar in the pot heating up. We have 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. We have 2 teaspoons of Tony, I can't pronounce it correctly, so I'm not going to try, seasoning. We have 2 teaspoons of red pepper flake, 2 teaspoons of coarse black pepper, ground black pepper. So we're heating up the apple cider vinegar, and when that gets hot, we're going to dissolve the brown sugar into it. And then once it dissolves and I mix it up, I'll then mix in the rest of the other seasonings. And then I'll cool it down with either by using a little bit of ice or just letting it sit room temperature for a while. And then I'll put it in this bottle, and that makes it easy to just kind of squirt it all over the meat nice and easy. It's like a food grade, food prep bottle, like a ketchup bottle. So, it is done, and the verdict is in. The barbecue came out delicious. The pulled pork is amazing. And here are my kids to give the review. What you think, Evan? Did it taste good?
It was delicious. It was awesome.
It was awesome. All right, checking out. Say bye.
Bye.
Say see you in St. Louis.
See you soon.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed it. Pulled pork out. Peace.
Bye.